Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is MrHurriicane, and today is the San Diego Chargers franchise Season 1 offseason, and it will be live streamed over on my Twitch at twitch.tv/MrHurriicane. The link is down below in the description, and the stream is set to begin today at 2:30 p.m. Central Time, which is 3:30 Eastern, 1:30 Mountain Time, and 12:30 Pacific, also 7:30 p.m. in London. So I think it's at a time where a lot of people can show up. It's hard to do a perfect time for everybody. But if you can't make it to the live stream, of course, it will be on my channel tomorrow after I get the videos transferred to my channel here. But I wanted to make this video not only to announce the offseason, but also to kind of set the stage for it, especially for those that maybe just started watching my channel recently and aren't familiar with my live streams or my off seasons here in my franchise. But basically, the format doesn't change, and it's going to be the same as in the past. So today we're going to go through, first we're going to sim past Super Bowl week and into the off season. So right now I don't know who the Super Bowl winner is, I don't know who is going to retire, so this is going to be a really big first step in this off season, where like 5 minutes in it could really change the direction of the rest of this series. If for instance, if Phillip Rivers retires, all of a sudden this offseason becomes all about filling that void, and we have other players on the roster that are potentially going to retire. I think the most likely one would be Antonio Gates. He is the oldest player on the roster. Rivers is 35. I think he could stick around for a couple more years, but I can't be 100% sure. Kellen Clemens is getting older, so is Brandon Mebane, Danny Woodhead, and anybody in their 30s. I'm thinking either potential to retire or maybe potential their play drops off to the point where we have to find a replacement regardless. So it's obviously going to begin by transferring to the offseason, seeing who retires, and then taking care of our free agents. And there aren't a lot of key ones for us to try re-signing. There isn't one that's really going to change the direction of our offseason. I already took care of the Melvin Ingram deal earlier this season, and he had a 14-sack year for us. We'll take a look at his contract here. And I also signed Adrian Phillips, who wasn't a major free agent, but he was a player that I wanted to keep around. So I took care of those two, and Ingram got a nice contract of $27.4 million over 4 years. I had to go over the initial offer just because I didn't want anybody else having a chance to bid on him in free agency, because I could see that price getting a little out of hand. The other player who could command a lot of money that I'm not sure I want to stick around is Manti Te'o, and that depends on his market. Now, at a 77 overall, I'm not expecting a huge market, but the demand I saw during the season wasn't enough for me to want to offer him a contract. And I've talked about wanting to get that 3-down linebacker, the guy who can cover. And Denzel Perryman is the best run stopper on this team, and Manti Te'o isn't the cover guy. So I feel like Te'o is the odd man out. His contract is set to expire, and I think it's time to get a different starter alongside Perryman, one that could perhaps play on all 3 downs and play well on all 3 downs. Te'o wasn't that great in pass coverage. He did have an interception back in week 1, but I don't think the consistency was there. Then there are other situations that could arise on here, like many have talked about moving Brandon Flowers to free safety. And at this point, if you look at speed and coverage ratings, I think that Craig Mager might be a better option moving forward. I mean, his intangibles would have to get much better, but Flowers is slower than Mager, and if you look at the coverage abilities, Mager's better in man, and Mager is only 2 less in zone coverage. So is Brandon Flowers going to be another outside corner for us in Season 2? Probably not. I'll have to take a look at his contract and decide what I want to do this offseason. So there could be some of those cap casualties you hear about, and usually older players like Flowers end up being those players. So he is under contract for another 2 seasons. So I'll definitely take a look at his contract once we transfer to the offseason and see how much dead money we have to eat and how much savings we could actually open up for us. Now, after we get past taking care of our players, of course, we move on to free agency, where we try to sign players from other teams, and there are some spots where we're going to try and do that. I think that our third tight end spot is an option for that, maybe coverage linebacker, because if we get like a coverage specialist, he'll come at a cheap price. If we want a 3-down guy, he's going to be more expensive, and this is a really good middle linebacker draft, as I showed in the scouting video, which, by the way, check out the year 1 recap and the year 1 scouting video if you want to take a closer look at the draft class. I will go through that now, and once we get to the draft, I am hoping that we can come away with some superstar players that can build this franchise for the next few seasons. And I am prepared, like, in case Phillip Rivers throws us a surprise and he ends up retiring. I do have a couple quarterbacks here that I like. And I'm going to go through the comments on the previous video. I already scanned through them a little bit, but I wanted to jot some notes down on who your guys' favorite players were in this draft class. I know Sheldon Ladler was one of them. Anytime you can find like an A skill, and this is not an A-, which is still good. This is an A skill of a stiff arm for a guy in the 4th round that fits a need for us at power back. I don't think Andre Williams can get it done, and I want to find another power back, and that's a perfect option for us. And I'm also going to find players that I want to further scout and throw them on the watch list to try and make the offseason a little bit tighter. I've done a few things to kind of shorten the offseason in the past to just make it as long as it needs to be, and that's why I do the recap separate now, because we don't care as much about the recap once we get into the offseason. We want to see the moves. We want to see what players are coming to the team, what players are leaving, and so I've separated those, and I'm going to find more players on here I want to scout and throw them on the watch list. But also, once we get to the free agent period, we also get the combine numbers, and that's going to also factor in who goes on the watch list and who gets those final bit of scouting points, because we only have a few left, and well, a few hundred it'll end up being once we go through the entire offseason. And I think we're prepared right now for a pretty decent draft, depending on if the combine numbers support the players I like the most. But I'll find a few more players that can perhaps be gems for us. I know I love trading down and finding multiple guys late in the draft that can have a lot of potential, and especially now with practice squads in your roster essentially being 10 players larger, that gives you an opportunity to develop more players and not have to cut rookies, which I always hate doing, especially rookies that I draft. So I think that about covers it for what's going to happen in the stream tonight. And if you can't make it for any reason, I'll have the stream on my channel tomorrow. I always go part 1 is like the free agent period and the re-signings, all that stuff, and then the draft is its own video. And the draft oftentimes goes to about an hour long because I take my time with every pick, and I'm always trying to like work deals and whatnot. And then afterwards we check ratings and sometimes edit some numbers and appearances. I'm not sure if that'll happen tonight, but we're at least going to get us after the draft and then get us a little bit prepared for the preseason. And then after this offseason is done, what I always do, because not everybody can sit and watch like an hour-long draft or something like that, so I make sure I always do an edited offseason video, and that is going to be, let me just go through the scouting here so you guys have something to look at that's interesting. But I always take the offseason and make it a smaller video, like 15-20 minutes, like a regular episode, and then you see every move that we made, every draft pick and whatnot, all the important highlights of the offseason. After we get through the edited offseason, which I want to have on my channel either Sunday or Monday, I'll see what day works the best for that, I will have the highlight video for the Season 1 season on my channel. It'll be all the big plays, all the big touchdowns and big moments. I really liked making those videos as just something to look back on after we get a few years in and remember players that we may have not thought about in quite a while. After that, it's going to be the preseason, which I always now do all 4 games into one video showing the highlights, and I knock down the quarter length to 10 minutes on those just so I can get to the preseason a little bit faster. I don't want to necessarily, I like shaving a little bit of time off of it. It helps keeping the video length from getting out of control at the same time. And then from there, it's going to be on to Season 2 of the Chargers franchise, and so far we've made great progress with this series, having Season 1 done here. It's early November, and then we're on to Season 2 here very shortly. And last year I only made it 4 seasons into the Jaguars franchise, but I finished 4 seasons by Madden 17's release, which was a step up from where we were in the past. And the goal this year is to have at least 5 done by the next Madden launch. And if possible, I'd like to get a 6th done. And I think so far the pace of Season 1 has put us in a position to have a really strong franchise, and especially to take those players I drafted in the first year and to get them through their first contracts and potentially have spots where we end up playing against players that I drafted that we just couldn't keep around, because when you're a good football team, which is what we're trying to build here, you can't possibly keep all your good players. Some have to go, and you're going to play against some of them, and we haven't really seen those revenge games against us, and that's one thing that could happen at some point in this series. Also coming to my channel, I'm not sure if it's going to be this month or next month, but I've talked about my upcoming NCAA Dynasty. I'll be making a new school in Team Builder, completely custom. It's going to be a cupcake roster, and a lot of rebuilding is going to happen, and I'm excited to get that underway. I'll talk about it a little bit in the stream, but I don't really have a set date for that to begin quite yet. So that should wrap up this video here. Just wanted to break down what is to happen for those that aren't familiar with my off seasons. And if you have any feedback on what you'd like to see as far as the draft goes, any players that you like, feel free to leave your comments here. I'm going to go through comments until the stream begins and take a look at who the favorite prospects are for the viewers watching. And remember, the stream is at 2:30 p.m. Central Time over on twitch.tv/MrHurriicane. And again, the stream will be on my channel tomorrow in the form of 2 parts, like always. And so that's going to wrap up this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all later in the live stream. Have a great day.